Arhan sat quietly in the front seat of his luxury car, listening to the soft voice behind him. The air was cold, but her words were full of warmth and pain. "My name is Aliyah," the girl said, hugging her little brother close. "And this is Sammy." The boy's face was pale. His head rested on her lap and his tiny chest moved up and down slowly. He was breathing, but weakly. Arhan turned around to face her. "How long have you been sleeping in cars?" Aliyah looked away. 3 nights before that. We slept near a temple, then behind a bus stop." Arhan raised an eyebrow. "Why not go to a shelter?" She shook her head quickly. "They separate children from their families. I promised my brother I will never leave him alone, that." One line hit Arhan harder than expected. He looked at the girl again, maybe 16 or 17 years old, but her eyes were like a woman who had lived through a lifetime of storms. Aliyah started telling her story. At first, slowly. Then, like a river, breaking its dam, they once had a home, a small one-bedroom house in a quiet part of the city. Her father was an accountant. Her mother had passed away years ago, so Aliyah grew up fast. She learned how to cook, clean, and take care of little Sammy. "Papa worked hard," she said with a sad smile. "He always brought us sweets on Sundays. But everything changed the day her father met with an accident. He was hit by a car on his way back from work," she whispered. The driver didn't stop. Her voice broke for a moment. "He didn't die immediately. He was in the hospital for 3 days. But we had no money. I tried to get help, but by the 3rd day they stopped treatment." Arhan's hands clenched. On the steering wheel. "What happened after that?" he asked. Aliyah looked down. "They said my father had loans. The house was taken. I tried to work, but I had to carry Sammy with me everywhere. No one gives jobs to girls carrying children." She gave a sad laugh. "Once I even tried cleaning tables at a hotel, but they threw me out when Sammy cried too much." Arhan listened in silence. This girl had faced more in a year than most people. Did in a lifetime. Then came the question. "Why don't you take Sammy to a proper hospital?" he asked. The moment he said the word hospital, he saw it. That tiny flinch, like a scared animal hiding from a hunter. Her arms tightened around her brother. Her lips pressed into a straight line. "Please," he added gently. "He needs a doctor." Aliyah stared out of the window for a moment. Then finally she whispered, "They won't treat him, not without papers." "Papers?" Arhan asked. "Yes," she nodded. "ID card, birth certificate, something to show he's real. I lost everything in the fire. I begged a nurse once. She looked at me like I was garbage. She said no documents, no medicine." There was silence in the car again. Sammy coughed weakly in his sleep. Arhan looked at the boy and then at Aliyah. "So you've been carrying him like this for how long?" he asked. 7 months, she said. "Sometimes he gets a little better, sometimes worse. I give him warm water, sometimes just talk to him all night to make sure he keeps breathing." Tears filled Arhan's eyes, but he quickly looked away. He was a billionaire. He had seen luxury, power, greed, and lies. But this was something he had never seen before. A teenage girl, carrying the weight of a life. After a few minutes, Arhan started the car. "Where are we going?" Aliyah asked, alarmed. "I'm taking him to a private clinic," Arhan said firmly. Aliyah reached for the door handle. "No," she said. "They'll report us. They'll take him from me." Arhan stopped the car. He looked at her seriously. "I promise," he said. "No one will take your brother. I'll make sure of it." But Aliyah didn't believe easily. "I already lost my father. I can't lose Sammy," she said softly. "I swore to him. No matter what happens, I'll never let anyone separate us." She looked up at Arhan, her eyes full of fear and fire. "I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for a house. Just let me stay near him, even if it's outside the clinic. Even if I have to sweep the floors, just don't leave him alone." Arhan took a deep breath. He had heard stories. He had seen dramas on TV. But sitting here in his own car, beside a homeless girl, with nothing but love in her hands, he felt something shift inside him. He didn't know yet what he would do, but he knew this. The back seat of the luxury car was warm and quiet. A strange place for such a painful story. Arhan, the billionaire, sat still in the front seat, his phone forgotten in his pocket. Behind him, a thin teenage girl held her little brother close, as if she feared the world would take him away. "My name is Aliyah," she said softly. "And this is my brother Sami. He's 7. Sami was asleep, his small body curled against her side, his breathing light and slow. Arhan turned his head slightly to hear better. "How did you get inside my car?" Aliyah looked down, ashamed. "The back door was unlocked. We didn't mean to steal. We just needed somewhere warm. It's too cold outside and Sami has a fever." Arhan didn't shout. He didn't call. Security. Something about this girl, it stopped him. She looked young, maybe 16. But her eyes were tired, full of pain and something else, something strong. "Where are your parents?" Arhan asked. "My father died last year," she said. "A truck hit him when he was crossing the road. He didn't have insurance. He didn't have time to say goodbye." She paused, stroking her brother's hair. "Our mother died when Sami was a baby, so it's just the two of us now." Arhan felt a tightness in his chest. He looked back again. "What about your house? Your relatives?" Aliyah gave a sad smile. "We had a small house. After Papa died, we couldn't pay the rent. The landlord threw us out. No one from our family helped. Some said we were cursed. Others were just scared to take us in." She blinked, trying to keep tears away. "Since then, I've been working small jobs, selling flowers, cleaning tea stalls, begging sometimes. But no one wants to hire a girl with a sick child following her." Arhan said nothing. His hands rested quietly on the steering wheel. Aliyah continued, her voice lower now. "Sometimes we sleep behind the bus stand, sometimes near the railway station. But it's not safe. I stay awake most nights so nothing happens to Sami. Last night it rained. He got colder. His cough got worse. I didn't know what to do. Then I saw your car. It looked safe." She lowered her head. "I'm sorry if I scared you." But Arhan wasn't angry. In fact, he had never felt this quiet before. He had heard sad stories. But hearing this one, inside his own car, while looking at a real child fighting to live, was different. He cleared his throat. "Why haven't you taken him to a hospital?" That one word, hospital, changed everything. Aliyah's shoulders stiffened. She hugged Sami tighter. Her face turned pale. "They won't treat him," she said. "Not without papers." Arhan frowned. "What do you mean?" "I lost all our papers," she said. "My ID, Sami's birth certificate. Everything burned in a fire at the old shelter." She looked out the window, voice trembling. "I once begged a nurse to treat him. She said, 'No ID, no medicine.' Then she called the guards. I had to run." Arhan's chest ached. "So you've been caring for him all alone?" he asked. Aliyah nodded. "I give him warm water. If I find an old sweater, I wrap it around him. If someone gives food, I eat less and give him more. Sometimes I just talk to him all night to make sure he's still breathing." She looked at Arhan with eyes full of pain. "I don't want money. I just want to keep him alive, that's all." Arhan couldn't believe it. He had spent millions on luxury, cars, watches, parties. But this girl, this child, had survived a year on the streets with nothing but love. And she was still fighting, still smiling, still protecting her brother, like a lioness. "I'll take him to a private clinic," Arhan said suddenly. "I know people. They won't ask questions." But Aliyah panicked. "No, please." He turned around quickly. "Why not?" Tears rolled down her cheeks. "They'll take him from me. I've heard stories. Poor girls like me, they say we're careless. They take our brothers and send them to shelters. I made a promise to Papa. I promised to protect Sami. I'll never leave him," her voice broke. "Even if I have to sleep on roads forever." Arhan took a deep breath. He had never felt this helpless. This girl wasn't weak. She was braver than most people he knew. And yet she was all alone. "I won't let anyone take him," Arhan said firmly. "You have my word." Alia looked at him for a long time, searching his face, looking for lies. Then she gave a tiny nod, but her arms never loosened around Sammy. She had made a promise, and Arhan understood now. He wasn't just helping them, he was part of that promise too. The black car rolled silently through the empty streets of the city. The lights were dim, the roads quiet. It was almost midnight. In the back seat, Alia held Sammy close, whispering to him softly. Her lips moved, saying gentle things, like a lullaby only they understood. In the front, Arhan drove without speaking. His face was serious. His mind was full of questions. Why was he doing this? He had seen poor people before. He had helped charities, donated food and written checks. But this was different. This girl with tired eyes and torn clothes had something he couldn't explain. Strength, love, fire. He had seen rich people cry over business deals. But this girl, she hadn't cried. Even once, not for herself, only for her brother. They arrived at the private clinic. Arhan's family used it, a place for the city's elite. It was quiet, clean, and hidden behind tall walls. He called the doctor before stepping out. "Dr. Mera," he said over the phone. "I need a favor, no questions, one child, very sick, no papers, no noise." Dr. Mera hesitated. "But sir," "I said no questions," Arhan repeated. "Do it for me, please." A minute later, the clinic door A nurse came with a form. "Patient's full name, date of birth?" Alia lowered her eyes. I don't remember the exact date." The nurse frowned, but Arhan stepped in. "I'll handle the paperwork," he said firmly. "Just start. The treatment." The nurse looked surprised. "Sir, are they your relatives?" Arhan paused for a second, then answered, "Yes." That one word made Alia look up. She didn't speak, but in her eyes there was a flash of something. Gratitude, or maybe confusion. In the treatment room, doctors placed Sammy on the bed and checked his pulse, temperature, and oxygen. "He's very weak," Dr. Mera said. "Malnourished, high fever. His lungs are tight. He needs oxygen, antibiotics, and rest." Alia stood at the corner, her fists clenched. The beeping machine scared her. She had seen death before, in a hospital. That's where her father died. But now her brother was on the same kind of bed. She whispered, "Please don't let him die. Please." Arhan put a hand on her shoulder. "He's going to be okay. You're not alone now." Hours passed. The fever slowly started to drop. Sammy was still sleeping, but his breathing was better. Alia didn't move from the side of the bed. She sat on the floor, holding his hand. At dawn, Arhan brought her tea. She didn't take it. "Drink," he said gently. "You need to stay strong for him." Her hands trembled as she took the cup. "Why are you helping us?" she asked suddenly. Arhan looked at her. "I don't know," he admitted. "Maybe because you remind me what real love looks like." Alia stared at the tea, then said quietly, "You don't need to stay. You've done enough." Arhan shook his head. "I'm not going anywhere." Outside the clinic, the city was waking up. But inside, a strange silence rested between the billionaire and the homeless girl. Different lives, different worlds. And yet, here they were, sitting together in a quiet room, watching over a child who had no voice to ask for help. Arhan's phone buzzed. It was his mother. "Where are you? Why didn't you come home? The board meeting is in 2 hours. Arhan looked at Alia, then at the sleeping child. He turned the phone off. Some things mattered more than meetings. Just before sunrise, Dr. Mehra entered the room. "He's stable," he said with a smile. "Still weak, but safe for now." Alia's lips parted. She didn't cry, but her hand moved up to her heart. Relief. Silent, powerful relief. She looked at Arhan and whispered, "Thank you." Arhan didn't answer, because for the first time in years, his heart felt full. Morning sunlight touched the windows of the private clinic. Inside, Sammy was sleeping peacefully for the first time in days. His fever had dropped. His breathing was slower now. Safe. Aaliyah sat beside the bed, her hands gently stroking her brother's hair. She hadn't slept, but she didn't care. For the first time in a long time, she felt hope. Arhan stood outside the room, speaking with Dr. Mera. "She still doesn't trust easily," Arhan said. "But I'll earn that trust." Dr. Mera gave a small nod. "The boy's strong. He just needs good food, medicine, and rest." Arhan smiled. "He'll get all of it." But what they didn't know was that someone had already taken a photo from the hallway. An intern nurse had snapped a picture with her phone. A billionaire standing beside a poor girl in rags, and a sick child in his clinic bed. She didn't think twice before sharing it with a friend. That friend sent it to another. By noon, it was everywhere. Billionaire's secret visit to clinic with poor girl. Who is this mysterious girl? In Arhan's life. Rich man hiding love story. Arhan's phone didn't stop ringing. His mother called first. "What is this nonsense? Who is that girl, Arhan? What have you done?" His business partner messaged, "Clean this up before it ruins your image." His PR manager, "We need to release a statement now." But Arhan ignored them all. Inside the clinic room, he watched Aaliyah feed soup to Sammy with her own hands. She broke small pieces of bread and whispered, "Eat slowly, baby." Arhan smiled to himself. He didn't care what the world thought. But Aaliyah did. When she saw the news on the TV in the clinic's waiting area, her body froze. Her photo was on the screen. Her face. Sammy's face. Arhan standing next to them. Reporters outside the clinic. Cameras. Questions. Her heart started pounding. She ran to Arhan. "They found us. Everyone knows. What if they come and take him? What if they say you're hiding us?" Arhan placed his hand on her shoulder. "Calm down. No one will touch Sammy, I promise." But she pulled away. "You don't understand. This is your world. Rich people lie. Media lies. The world thinks I'm someone I'm not." She turned to leave the room, her eyes wild. "I should go before they ruin your name." Arhan stepped in front of her. "No. You helped us. That's enough," she said. "Now let us go." He looked directly into her eyes. "Do you trust me, Aaliyah?" She hesitated. Her lips trembled. "I want to, but I've trusted people before, and they left." Arhan took a deep breath. "I'm not like them." Outside, reporters gathered. Like wolves. "Mr. Arhan, are you dating the girl? Is this your secret child? Why is she in your clinic?" Inside, Aaliyah sat with her head down, tears in her eyes. Sammy looked up at her. "Are we in trouble again?" She kissed his forehead. "No, baby, not this time." Later that evening, Arhan held a press conference. He stood calmly in front of cameras. "She's not a girlfriend. Not a secret. She's not a problem. She's a hero." The reporters leaned forward. He continued, "Her name is Aaliyah. She saved her brother's life. While we sit in AC rooms and scroll through phones, she was sleeping in the cold, hungry, and still protecting someone she loves." Aaliyah watched from inside the clinic. Tears filled her eyes as she heard his words. Arhan finished, "If anyone has a problem with me helping her, they can go ahead and stop buying my products. I don't care." The internet exploded. Half of the people praised him. The other half asked questions. But Aaliyah? She was silent. That night, when Arhan returned to the clinic, he found her standing at the window, looking at the stars. "You didn't have to defend me," she said. He stood beside her. "But I wanted to. People don't usually defend girls like me." Arhan looked up at the sky. "Then maybe it's time someone did." In that quiet moment, no one spoke. But something changed. Aaliyah didn't run this time. She didn't say thank you. She just stayed. And sometimes silence is the loudest kind of trust. The clinic was quiet. Sammy's fever had come down. His cheeks had color again. He was sitting up now, drawing pictures with crayons Arhan had bought him. Aaliyah finally smiled, just a little. She looked at her brother, whispering, "See? I told you. We'd be okay." Arhan brought food that evening. Not through servants. He cooked it himself. Simple dal, rice, and boiled eggs. I haven't cooked in years, he said with a laugh, placing the plate on the table. Sammy took a bite and grinned. It's good. Aaliyah looked surprised. You really made this? Arhan nodded. Even billionaires should know how to cook. They all laughed. For a few moments, they forgot the world. The next day, Alia's clothes were sent to the laundry. Her torn bag, dusty and stitched many times, was also taken by the maid to clean. While emptying the bag, the maid found a piece of paper, old, faded, folded again and again. She opened it. There were broken sentences, messy handwriting. But the words were clear enough to scare her. She rushed to Arhan. Sir, I found this in her bag. I think you should read it. Arhan opened the letter. His hands tightened as he read. To anyone who finds this, if something happens to me, please take care of Sammy. He's just a child. I don't have anyone left. No family, no ID, no home. He doesn't deserve to die on the streets. I tried everything. I worked. I begged. I even cleaned people's toilets. But they said we're not real citizens, that we don't exist. If I disappear, it's not because I gave up. It's because this world forgot us. Tell Sammy I loved him more than anything. Ali Arhan sat down slowly. His heart felt heavy. This wasn't just a poor girl taking care of her brother. This was a girl who had prepared to die, but didn't stop fighting. She had carried pain so deep she had written goodbye letters, not for herself, but for the one person she loved most. He folded the letter and walked to the clinic room. Aaliyah was feeding soup to Sammy again. We talk? Arhan asked. She looked up, saw the letter in his hand, and her face changed. She stood quickly. Where did you get that? My maid found it in your bag. She looked ashamed. I didn't mean for anyone to read it. I know, he said gently. But why didn't you tell me? She turned her face away. Because people don't understand. They think we're weak, dirty, illegal. I didn't want you to feel sorry for me. I don't feel sorry, he said. I feel proud. They sat in silence. Then Aaliyah whispered, We were born here. But after my father died, the landlord burned all our papers when we couldn't pay rent. I tried going to offices. They said I was a ghost. She held her head low. I had no proof I existed, so I started writing that letter, just in case. Arhan looked at her. You exist. And now, I'm going to make sure the whole world knows it. Later that night, Arhan called his lawyer. I need new documents for 2 people. Fast, safe, clean. The lawyer hesitated. That's not easy, sir. They'll ask questions. Then lie if you have to, Arhan said. Use my name. Do you just get it done? Meanwhile, Aaliyah sat beside Sammy. He looked at her and asked, Are we going to live here forever? She smiled softly. No, baby, just for a little while. Then maybe we'll have a real home. Sammy smiled. With a bed? And a door that locks? She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. Yes, a real door, with your name on it. Outside, the room. Arhan stood by the window thinking, not just about the papers, but about something D. It was a bright Monday morning when Arhan stepped out of his black car, holding a file in one hand and Sammy's little hand in the other. Aaliyah followed behind, nervous, dressed in clean but simple clothes. They had come to the government office to apply for identity documents, birth certificates, health cards, anything to make Aaliyah and Sammy real in the eyes of the world. This is the first step, Arhan said gently. Once this is done, no one can ignore you. Aaliyah nodded, but her heart was beating fast. They walked inside. The man at the front desk didn't look up. He was chewing gum, tapping his phone. Next, he said lazily. Arhan stepped forward and placed the file on the counter. The man finally looked up and froze. Sir, Mr. Arhan Malik? His tone changed. I didn't expect. Arhan nodded calmly. I need documents for these 2. They were never registered. Long story. The man opened the file and glanced through it. No ID, no old papers, no proof of birth, school, anything. Arhan stayed quiet. "Sir, this is complicated," the man said. "It takes months, maybe years. You'll need witnesses, reports. I'll pay for speed," Arhan interrupted. "Make it happen." The man looked nervous. "Even your money can't bend all rules." In the waiting area, Alia sat with Sammy, watching the room filled with tired mothers, crying children, and angry voices. This place smelled of sweat and hopelessness. She whispered to her brother, "Don't worry, he's trying." Sammy held her hand tighter. Meanwhile, Arhan walked past desks and officers, going straight to the director's cabin. He didn't knock. He pushed the door open. The director, a man in his 50s, looked up, confused. Arhan placed the file on the table. "Help them. Or I go to the media and tell them your office denied a dying child his right to exist." The director blinked. "I'll look into it," he said quickly. "No," Arhan replied. "You'll fix it." The pressure worked. By afternoon, Alia and Sammy had temporary IDs. Not full documents, but enough to admit Sammy into hospitals, and enough to apply for real papers. When the officer handed them over, Alia stared at the card with her name on it. For a moment she just stared. Her lips trembled. Sammy looked at his card and smiled. "It has my birthday on it." Alia nodded slowly. "Now you're real." She looked at Arhan. "And now, so am I." But not everyone was happy. News had spread about Arhan helping street people. Some investors called him reckless. "You're hurting your brand," one man shouted on the phone. "People want to see you with celebrities, not beggars," Arhan replied. "Then maybe I don't want those people as customers." That night, Arhan hosted a charity dinner. All the rich and powerful were there, actors, politicians, CEOs. But when he walked in, he wasn't alone. He entered with Alia and Sammy. The hall went silent. Whispers filled the air. "Who are they?" "She's just a slum girl." "Why bring them here?" Arhan stood at the mic and cleared his throat. "I've done business with many of you. I've shaken hands with liars in suits. But I've never seen more honesty than I see in these two." He turned to Alia and Sammy. "They are my guests of honor." Alia's hands were shaking. She didn't know where to look. The fancy clothes, the cameras, the gold plates. But Sammy just laughed and said, "This chicken is yummy." Some people clapped, others rolled their eyes, but Arhan didn't care. He looked at Alia and said, "Don't let them shrink you. You're braver than all of them combined." After dinner, a reporter approached her. "You think this fairy tale will last?" she asked with a fake smile. "Rich men always move on." Alia looked her in the eye. "I didn't ask for a fairy tale," she replied. "I only wanted my brother to live, but now we have a name, a place. That's more than I ever dreamed." Outside, rain began to fall. Arhan held an umbrella over Alia and Sammy as they walked to the car. "You know," he said, "I don't think I rescued you. I think you rescued me." Alia smiled softly, and for the first time she believed it. It had been 1 month since Arhan brought Alia and Sammy into his world. 1 month since they got papers, medicine, and safety. But Alia still didn't feel like she belonged. She woke up early, made breakfast herself, and kept her head low at every event, even though Arhan begged her to relax. "I'm not used to being looked at," she once told him. "You're not just being looked at." He replied softly, "You're being seen." One evening, Arhan received an invitation to a business award show. He was nominated for Philanthropist of the Year. He was proud of the work he'd done, but he knew the real story wasn't his. It was hers. So he asked Alia to come with, not as a guest, but as the one who would speak on stage. Her eyes widened. "Me? No, I can't even talk in front of 5 people." "You talk to me," he said, "and that changed my life." On the night of the ceremony, the hall sparkled. With lights and luxury, cameras flashed. Celebrities walked the red carpet, and then a girl stepped out of a black car in a simple white dress. No diamonds, no designer brand. But every head turned. Alia stood quietly beside Arhan. He offered her his arm. She took it, hands slightly shaking. Inside, the host called Arhan's name. He stood, took the mic, and then did something no one expected. He stepped aside and said, "The real hero tonight is her." Aliyah slowly walked to the stage. The lights were bright. The room was silent. She looked at the crowd, then at Arhan, and finally began to speak. "My name is Aliyah. You don't know me. A month ago, I was living in an abandoned car praying my sick brother would survive the night." She paused, voice steady. "I begged on streets. I cleaned washrooms. People called me invisible. They looked through me like I was dust." She looked around, but one man stopped. Not because he felt pity, but because he saw something. A spark, a fight, a sister trying to protect her only family. Tears formed in many eyes. She continued, her voice stronger now. "I stand here not to ask for help, but to remind you. There are millions of girls like me. Girls who can survive storms, who can raise children in darkness, who can become more than just poor or helpless." She looked down at Sammy in the front row, smiling. "And with one chance, we can shine." The hall stood up, a standing ovation. People who once whispered and mocked were now clapping with full hearts. After the show, news channels played her speech everywhere. Aliyah's words move a nation. From homeless to hero. Billionaire's guest changes the room. Offers poured in. NGOs wanted to meet. Her women's groups wanted her as a speaker. Schools asked if she'd come talk to students. She was scared at first, but Arhan stood beside her every step of the way. "You're not just living now," he told her one night. "You're leading." But even with fame and comfort, Aliyah never forgot the streets. One day she took Arhan back to the broken neighborhood where she once slept. Children ran barefoot. Women begged with babies in their arms. "This is where I lived," she said quietly, "and this is where I'll build." That month, Arhan funded a new shelter, run by Aliyah, with beds, medicine, food, and most of all, respect. She called it Sammy's house. For every child who had no place to go, she told the press. Now they will. On the day of the shelter's opening, Arhan surprised her. He handed her a small envelope. Inside was a ring, simple, gold, elegant. He knelt and said, "I didn't fall in love with a rich girl. I fell in love with a brave one." Aliyah cried, not because of the ring, but because for the first time in her life, she felt truly chosen. Months passed. Aliyah and Arhan didn't just build a life. They built hope. Sami got better. He joined school, and every night he asked for one more bedtime story from his sister. Only this time, they weren't sad stories. They were stories of how they rose together.